remind you, I'm doing a 1 hour episode on money, power, wealth, business
Right.
in the history of the United States,
Right.
which is a lot.
Right.
We won't be able to fit everything in, obviously, but the idea is to sort of explain how did the US become the country, the wealthiest country ever,
Hmm.
and there's still so much inequality.
Right.
There's this rift between rich and poor. And what's
Okay.
going on?
I like the
And it's
topic.
sick, yeah. And I was so interested in your story because I'm from Austria, so I know like a bunch of stuff about Europe, and I'm learning about the U.S. right now. And what I
Right.
found is that I see a lot of stories from people who leave prison and then build businesses.
Right.
Like there's a lot of people who are so entrepreneurial.
Yes.
You would never do that in Austria. You would have zero chance. It's just so different, the culture and the laws about business. So it's really interested in saying, all right, we'll anchor the historical story in the present with something that is really unusual for Europe, because this is for Germany.
Right. Right.
So the
Right.
people who will listen to this,
There.
I think will be like surprised and interested.
Right, to
Um,
hear it. Yeah, I like that. That's good. And the goal is definitely to spread the encouragement
yeah,
and
that's
let
what I
people
got
know
from
that,
your.
yeah,
Yes,
let people
yes,
know that they can actually
yes,
do something after a
yeah.
forbidden tragedy that comes meets their
And I
life.
think like this attitude of being a doer and like get back on your feet, let's go, is also uniquely American. It's
Mm.
so for me it's like very interesting, like stuff that you probably maybe take for granted. You've grown up here, this is
Right,
your whole
right,
life.
right.
For me, sounds like very interesting and very special.
Yes, because
So
in America is a great place for opportunity.
it is,
It
it
is.
is,
It
yeah,
is. It has much opportunity to offer, and I don't know a lot. I don't know a lot about every foreign country that's outside of the American
yeah,
borders. I visit a couple, but at the same time, to get into the politics and the economic status of how those companies actually proceed to build equality in their countries, I wouldn't be very experienced in that particular
yeah,
area on a foreign level. Say I wouldn't be experienced in the foreign aspect in the sense where I deal with empirical evidence coaching, meaning you coach based on what you've been through.
yeah,
And when you do that, you take more of a professional approach and a factual approach versus a theoretic approach. But when it comes to entrepreneurship, I do know and understand that one of the keys to surviving in any country is understanding the language
yeah,
of the country, understanding the policies, understanding what governs the country, and how the country actually takes well or not well to the citizens
mm-hmm.
actually being individually productive.
Yeah,
Because even in America, you can run into biasness where the inequalities of America cause people not to be able to get through certain doors because you have gatekeepers to certain industries where to reach the top of those industries, you really do have to know somebody or you better really know something. And so if you don't know something or somebody, then you're not going to open those doors. Knowing is the actual key
yeah,
to unlocking the doors, and that's in any environment. Because, and not to say that um, you're not going to meet resistance on your way up, because you're going to meet it. Especially in my case, coming from basically poverty. I grew up in apartments and projects where my mom had to work more than 12 hours a day. And anybody who knows about physiology, you know that anyone working 12 hours a day, they need rest on top of that. And she's doing this 6 to 7 days a week to provide economic resources for us that we need right in an apartment complex that we was growing up in. And she was working at a peanut factory. And so I always had a drive to be able to take care of her
mm-hmm.
and relieve her from that. So that motivation in seeing her struggle and identifying that I was a potential figure that could actually use my mind, my body, my emotional state as balance, meaning balancing all these things, and use my spiritual approach to in life to actually create some richness for myself that could free my mom from that economic struggle and poverty. So that was kind of like the motivation. And I tell people there's no education without motivation, which
Yeah,
is why I created Amar's Enterprises as the motivational company to get people to actually engage the museum and the
mm-hmm.
CDCG coaching group.
Yeah. Can we just start like really from the beginning, beginning,
Yes.
beginning? You just mentioned growing up in apartment
Hmm.
complexes, mom working way too much to live a fulfilling life, frankly. I mean, if you have to work so much to take
Yes.
care of the kids,
Right.
there's not enough time left. Do you remember, like, when you were a child, realizing, wait, the way we live, the way my mom has to work so hard to, like, keep us afloat, this is not how other people live. Like, this
Right.
is not how
Right.
everybody lives. Do
Right.
you remember?
Yes, I remember. And I remember even to the point where my mom, it was one point when I was a child, and I never forget this story where my mom told me, don't take what she have for us for granted, me and my sisters and brothers, because she go through a lot to get our resources, our clothes, and that what she was referring to. And I remember the conversation of her telling us that she was actually locking. This was before technology was all great. She was locking herself, getting locked into the stores, and she would fill the trash bag up with clothes and bring them out for us when the store closed. She would come back out the store after they lock it and leave with the trash bag of clothes, and able to give us, just because she wanted to see us with clothes that fulfilled her image of a parent, that and how her children should be. And so we started having nice clothes when my mom started doing that. I remember we started having these nice clothes. uh, um, on top of that, I even remember her working at the fish market when we were staying in New York. We stayed in New York for like 4 years, and she actually was working, well, for 3 years, going on 4 years, and she was working at this fish market up the street. And no, backtrack. She was working at the fish market in Newport News. And when we was in New York, she was working at this corner store where it was actually just a corner store, convenience store up the street from the house. Even then, I was very young. I probably was around 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old. And I still used to try to get independent and go up there to the store on my own to see my mom, stuff like that, find stuff in the neighborhood. It went from when we moved back to Virginia from New York, and I was around 6 or 7, maybe 7 years old. I was 7, and I was going to the elementary schools and the middle schools out here. I remember her being in all these jobs, and so one job led to another. But that peanut factory job that I'm telling you about at Planners, that was it to her. That was like a great thing. That was a success for her. If she was able to provide certain resources like a Christmas savings, where they had this program I never forget. She always talked about, my Christmas savings is paid up, so that Christmas savings would double her money. If she put in $1,000, she would get 2,000 back at the end of the year. So during Christmas, so she would use that money to buy toys and all this stuff for Christmas. And I never forget. It just was like, we didn't know we was in poverty. We didn't think we was in poverty. When we desire all these luxuries that she couldn't afford, we didn't think that we was in poverty. We just thought we just needed to have those extras. And so as I started realizing, as I got older and started realizing what poverty really was, I started to understand, like, a lot of us in America, we are spoiled compared to other poverty situations in other countries. And so what I started paying attention more to in America was the poverty of the psychological development of the people, and how we're trained to become criminals.
Yeah,
Because
how did that happen for
because
you?
no child is born with a criminal mind.
Of course not. Of course not.
So it happened to me. How did it happen to
Yeah.
me? Well, that happened to me through, like I said, having that desire not to see my mom work all day. In having that desire not to see my mom work all day, and seeing her in that struggle that she was going through, on top of working all day, I had a stepfather in the home that he didn't work at all, and he would fight on my mom. See, this part of the mental poverty that people don't understand, that really disrupt the development through adolescence of a child coming into adulthood. And this domestic violence that my mom was experiencing from her, all my other sisters and brothers had the same dad except me. So I would see this and experience this myself, even if I was like, yo, leave my mom alone. I would get a beating after that, you know. So at a very young age, so it created a lot of anger in me that I didn't understand. But now I'm a diplomat certified anger management coach. So I understand back now that back then, what I didn't understand is I was having amygdala hijacks all over the place and didn't even realize it. The amygdala part of my brain was being hijacked by toxic stimuli that was coming into my life. And so that was creating a criminal because that fight and flight response to everything, it created a more reactionary Amar than a proactive Amar that understood that education could defeat incarceration. And the first incarceration was the mind. It was the incarceration of the psychology. And then the physical followed that incarceration. And so if a person is not knowledgeable and aware in America, it don't matter if he's or she is walking out here or they're behind bars, they're still incarcerated. And they're very likely to end up behind bars because of that lack of understanding of that incarceration that moves them into directions that cause them to have restrictions put on their lives.
So very just concretely, I'm just gonna put this on to make sure that this sound works. So very concretely, yeah, okay, yes, this is totally working. It is a home that is abusive or tense, just like not not good for
Not
children
stable.
growing up,
Not stable.
having the idea that we need more money and this is how I'm gonna get it.
And seeing a mom fight for stability and a male figure that's against stabilization because of his lack of education. And not to say my mom knew everything either, but she was definitely on that path to trying to learn how to survive and create a family structure the best way she could. And she did that because despite my experiences from the lack of knowing, the things I did learn and pick up, I actually invested time into learning from that experience where it made me become the person I am today. And I'm thankful for the experience because now I'm able to identify a little quicker in another youth when I see them about to experience that. And or if they are experiencing that, I'm able to counteract educational structure that can deter them away from the results of that damage.
So I'm I'm just wondering when you were young and when you were thinking about your mom working so hard and thinking I want to contribute. Did you ever have like a dream job when you were a child? You were like, I don't know, I want to become an astronaut. That's a classic one. I'll be the next president.
Yeah, see, and my dream. That's funny you say that because yeah, I did have dreams. I had visions to become certain people that I'm not today. For instance, I had a vision to become a very, very good like combat fighter in the military one time. And I wanted to be like this Green Beret, or I was looking in the Air Force. They had this special force crew that you could actually get on, and they do these special missions and stuff like that. But here's what I discovered: the me having that desire was cool, but then I had a desire. Part of that desire was for me to get out of the projects and be able to travel the world with that type of career. And I got to be honest, I was thinking also I could get overseas and get me a drug connect that would allow me to bring cocaine, heroin, whatever I wanted back to my friends and family still in the project so they could sell and make money off of that while I'm in the military under my disguise. This was the mind that was stuck in me at that age where I was bound for prison whether I went for the military or not. And so my desire to want to build an economy, I knew that I had to do something professionally, but I was still thinking I could do that and it would disguise my criminal mindset. And so that alone educated me to take a look at how I thought and how that thinking would eventually end me right back up in prison once I got out of prison.
So you didn't have like these big dreams that were completely divorced from, selling drugs, making a lot of money.
No.
It was just, is that for people who, just gonna be people from Germany listening to who've never heard of Suffolk, Virginia.
Right.
Can you describe just like the place you grew up for someone who's never been to the U.S. even? Like what was the daily life? What was the community like?
The daily life in Suffolk, Virginia was, for me growing up, it was more for me trying to fulfill that idle time that with some type of happiness. The pursuit of happiness, if you look at the Declaration of Independence in 1776, that's one of the things that Lincoln said in his speech. That was one of the three things that all humans they would have this unalienable right, meaning it's not alien, it's not foreign, it's human. They would have this human right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And so every human naturally seeks their happiness. And their pursuit to that happiness depends on what they're visioning. So if these negative visions is created through radio, television, even like community leaders, if this negative vision is created, then you're gonna get a toxic individual in return. And that toxic individual, you're gonna label them a criminal because there's laws that basically puts their behavior in the criminal category. But we gotta ask ourselves, what's forming that? So this museum that you're in now, this e-firm, it's something that I know. It breaks them out of that box of unawareness that they're in that criminal zone. Because a lot of people are just, if you're aware of it, you can change it. Can it change what you can't identify?
So when you today speak to young people who are in a very similar situation that you were in your youth, how do you get through to them? Or do you feel like they react to you differently than to other community members or maybe to people who are trying to help them but who haven't lived what they have lived?
I can say that they react to me different. I've had parents that I've went to school with that now have children as teenagers, and they actually seek my advocacy for their youth at times when they're going through certain struggles. I had an incident where for instance, these three teenagers was exchanging firearm at one another, and they were shooting up each other. One of them shot up the other one's grandparents' house. Then right up the street from here, a couple blocks, another house that got shot up. They were shooting up each other's houses and stuff. So the parents, the aunt of one of the individuals got a whiff of it. And when I first opened this museum, she came up here and she congratulated and supported me. I never forgot that. And so I told her, bring them up here. So when she brought them up here, and I tell people, I was able to, I wear these necklaces. This is their hope. They look at this jury and they say, I can be like him. They say, I could be like him and still own a museum. So when they see me, it's not a badge, a police badge. And I tell them, this badge right here gives them a form of identity to say, I can talk to him. I believe in talk therapy. I tell people, talk therapy builds skills. So I promote skills over pills. I can't get you off the pill if I can't talk to you. So if I can talk to you, I can actually engage you with methods that I've created based on structured curriculums from empirical evidence study. It's not theoretical. I know it worked because I know it changed me. And I know the type of damaged state that I was in. So when I look at, like you asked that question just now about me growing up in Suffolk, that idle time led to me stealing gum, lollipops, all kind of bubble fruit, juicy fruit, or whatever you call these gums. But I had a candy store in middle school where I was making $50 to $60 or $70 a week just selling candy that I was stealing out of this food line up the street from the projects. So I always had this desire for entrepreneurship and to own my own businesses, but I didn't really know. And now when I write these books and curriculums, I try to help people understand that these behaviors and activity that you're practicing in this society in a negative form, they're actually skills that you could use for entrepreneurship to develop real legit businesses. You're doing the same thing. When I had crack cocaine, for instance, I gave it away free to let people in the neighborhood knew I had the best. So come back to me. And so I give them a little bit for free, but I got a lot to sell. And if I could do that, now I give education away for free because I have a lot of education I can sell them that's very, very profitable for their for their return on it, on their investment. So I have to show them the product. I have to be willing to, but that's a skill I knew in my criminal life before practicing in legit entrepreneurship life. And so by actually educating myself on entrepreneurship, I learned about my purpose. I was able to identify it. As I was sat in that prison. I went to prison at 19 years old.
Which is so young. That is so young.
I went to prison at 19 years old. And I thought I was handling my business, though. I was selling my drugs. I was running up and down the Interstate 85, going from Charlotte, coming back. I was robbing people, other drug dealers. They was trying to rob me, too. So I thought it was fair. I thought it was a normal lifestyle. It's just how we live. I thought this was my purpose. But then when I sat in that cell, the first thing I asked myself was, what could I have did different to not sit in this cell? And that's usually the first thing everybody asks themselves when they get in the cell. What could I have did different to have changed this moment or this outcome? And they don't know they're going to ask themselves that until they sit there. So the thinking chamber turn on. Now, everything they've experienced and they've previously visioned, they start to use it as the tools to actually try to unlock this thinking about their circumstance. Now, you don't think those things that you learned growing up, that you've seen, those little book time that you studied a few little pages in a book, is going to count for anything. But in that moment, those are the things you use to start analyzing yourself with. And as you analyze yourself, you start to identify how this one or two or three or four or five things you did, you could have done different. Some people listen to that voice in that analyzation. And so they take that study further. Some people, while they're in the system of prison and jails, they don't listen to that voice. And they start to continuously educate themselves on the miseducation road about how to become a better criminal. And there's no way to become a better criminal. The key is to learn what is the criminal. See, when you learn about the entrepreneurs that built America, and you start to go into the wealth of America and the history of the America after the Civil War, after the Revolution, and you go into like the railroads, the oil, the steel makers, you talking about now big money. You talking about Carnegie, you're talking about Vanderbilts, you're talking about Rockefellers and the oil industries and this railroad industries, that these people mastered these industries to the point where when Rockefeller pours oil from Carnegie's mentor, Tom, the train industry goes collapse and America goes into a straight recession, depression, and to the point where it can't even function.
Yeah.
And so entrepreneurship is real, but also enslaving the labor force becomes real, and it creates a lot of criminals in the society where the equality that you're building on and you're doing this documentary on, it's not something that's going to prevent crime. If you don't spread equality amongst a society or any system, I don't care you're in Austria, where you're from, I don't care you're in America, you're going to create crime. It's the inequalities in America alone that creates the criminals out of Americans.
So when you look at like the people like Rockefeller and Carnegie, who will show up in the podcast, obviously, very, very important
Carnegie?
people.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that.
So
Interesting.
is that
Well,
Are
I'm
these
not surprised
people?
based on the topic.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, it makes sense, and
Hmm.
I'm happy you brought these people up. Are these still people you look up to because they dominated their field and they did things that were not possible before?
I do. I actually admire the entrepreneur spirit of all these great entrepreneurs that develop these countries. I'm not going to say that every one of them had the empathy that was needed for humanity, but they had the drive to create and innovate on levels that some people never would have tried and went for. Every entrepreneur are risk takers.
Yeah.
We're risk takers. That's why in this museum you see ex felon, but right after that, experience, that's my history. You see the entrepreneurship retail piece, which is my present practices. I believe in entrepreneurship because entrepreneurship is where reason why I didn't make this a nonprofit museum. This is a for-profit industry because I see that entrepreneurship and retail practices can afford me the means to actually produce the future. There you go, past, present, and future. The future is the museums all over the country. The major one right in Washington, D.C., where y'all shoot out of. Washington, D.C. is the major place for this museum to go, where everybody around the world will come and actually visit. And this is where you're at, is the prototype.
Mm-hmm.
This is my prototype, my vision to give them a true reality that I'll put my money where my mouth is because this is not about money. I have a guy, he's a multi-millionaire, and I tell him I make my own money. He always talked to me about the ROI on my investment with this museum. And I tell him, I said, the ROI you're referring to is the cash value. I'm referring to the ROI of me being on the spiritual value. The spiritual richness of this is great. It pays me enough motivation back to make millions in other companies that I own.
Yeah, I'm curious about the balance of, it is very clear to me that you care about people, you
Hmm.
care about your community, and you care about leading people to a better path and
Hmm.
having better lives.
Yes.
And at the same time, you're saying this is for profit. You're an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
Of course, you're making money.
Right.
So how do you balance that? And how do you focus?
Okay, good question. Well, like, I'm not against nonprofit business development. I just believe that nonprofits are also for profit. That's just what I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, and I'm the type, I like to be truthful. And I want to present myself in truth always. If I'm to start a nonprofit, I may have a purpose for doing that outside of just making profit off of the nonprofit because I already have for-profit businesses that allowed me to forge such a company that we speak of. Now, this for-profit business will allow me to also not have someone get mad at me because I'm talking to you and say, I'm not going to give him no more money. So by me investing in my passion in the for-profit sector, it allowed me to say I could talk to whoever I want to talk to. And I don't have to depend on nobody to give me nothing because everything that I need's already been given to me and provided. And the Most High, and I told people, I don't care what their religious practice is. I can deal with people from every background because I look at it like this. There's a God that creates every experience for us. It's up to us to look at the experience as negative and not see any good in it. Our experience is our experience. I tell people I'm on a life path. That's why I say travel the life path, the golden journey. It's our life path. It's not a path of death. So when we meet people, we only see life in them. And because we're living in our future, LIFE for us is living in future enthusiasm, meaning we're not bound back to our past to the point where we're in bondage to it. We're born to understand history so that history don't repeat itself in the worst way. And that way we can teach from it and educate people into equality, educate people into wealth,
Mm-hmm.
educate people into utilizing wealth to cure humanity
Mm-hmm.
as philanthropists and humanitarians.
So philanthropy is something that is.
A philanthropist is someone that actually takes their time and their effort to concern themselves with the problems of humanity and try to provide resources and effort to make equality means for people that's suffering from the like of.
And I don't know if it's your main focus, but you do a lot of work about like around youth crime and gun crime.
Yes,
Would
definitely.
you say like in your philanthropy?
Yeah, yes, that's one of my greatest give backs. I think is to try to deter you from developing that criminal mind, and those who have already started on that road to create the proper curriculums with strong terminal objectives that will actually dismantle that road that they're on and put them in a path lane where they can actually start to educate themselves. Because there's something I wrote on called the ICD. I created it as a concept for change. The ICD deals with incorrect conceptualization damage and getting a person to actually look at those concepts that they're moving on as ideals of greatness, which really are not great, and identify them and turn them into great ideals that's actually correct and not incorrect. So it becomes a correct concept and not a concept that damages their forward. So the ICD, incorrect conceptualization damage, it actually helps a person. It's a study that I do through the Reforming the Thoughts of a Criminal Mind workshop that I do. And that Reforming the Thoughts of a Criminal Mind workshop is to actually give them certain tools to engage further into other curriculums like the FTB. The FTB is where we deal with feelings and behavior and how people don't put the T in between the F and the B. The feelings, thinking, and behavior. If you put some thinking in between the way you feel and not just behave on how you feel, then you can basically discipline yourself from reacting to the emotion. The emotional body is real. It's a real life body, just like the spiritual body, the mental body, the physical body. These bodies are real. They make up us. They make us up as make us into one whole. And if we don't identify when certain things are taking place, it derails us from the here and now. And when we derail from the here and now, and we come back to reality in the here and now, there's no telling what might be to happen.
So what I'm sensing, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you seem to have this confidence that everyone can make it somehow. If you change
You're right.
how you think and how you act, you can do it.
That's my bad side. That's why I get in trouble at. That's why I get frustrated at. That's why I get anxiety at everything. Like, yes, I do. I have to really, I'm maturing in that area where I'm starting to realize that there are some people that have mental challenges that cause them not to be able to escape not being on a pill. Okay, so the talk therapy can work, but so far with them, they need other things. I have a group home. I have a mental health company. I have 100 and plus employees. So I understand mental health and mental skill building and stuff like that to the point where I can say there are people with different mental issues that they just can't fight through on their own without that medication.
Yeah.
And so with those people, I'll say no, they're human beings, but they're not gonna get it on the level we're gonna get it. But a person who's been blessed with the normality to function as a normal human being, they can get it. Even some of the ones that have mental challenges, I've seen them be productive. We believe in like we believe that if we give them proper skill training, that they can function with some form of normality, even if they are born autistic or something like that. So if an artistic person can start to form not autistic, I'm sorry, autism individuals, if they can start to form and function in some type of normality, then a person with good health, mentally, physically, that's not impaired, they can start to learn and actually function. It takes an environment to turn on that light. Like a lot of us are taught wrong. I was in a church recently and I had a conversation, and I was talking about the fact that we was carrying on a conversation for a long time about hope, peace, and love. And I said that's great, but you can't get hope, peace, and love in a society where the color is not black and white. We got tricked. The color is green. We can't we color green. So we can't get love, peace, and hope when everybody only see green if we don't first get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. Like we can get knowledge, wisdom, understanding, we can start to free ourselves and build that equality that we talking about. Then that equality would resurface. Some they see as just magical. It would resurface what we want when we talk about peace, love, and happiness, hope.
So when you say equality, what would that mean, like on a societal level or even on a city level? If we take Suffolk, like what would equality look like, and how much is what a person works on themselves, and how much is government help, wealth redistribution, and so on and so forth?
Well, equality is something that would bring about, like I said, that balance, that justice. When people talk about all this injustice, equality, it looks like a lack of injustice. That's what it really looks like. You know, there's equality on the level of economics, on different levels when you deal with the economy. You got people need food, they need water, they need clothes, they need all these things like that to even balance themselves. So when we talk about needing knowledge, wisdom, understanding to get freedom, justice, and equality, that's what you'll get from that. You'll get food, clothing, and shelter as the next steps. Spread it amongst all. You wouldn't see the homeless person laying on the streets when we know it don't take no more than $5 a day to keep them clothed and fed. You know, we're throwing out food at all these restaurants, but we got people. We would start to think about how we do things. But see, we're in a capitalistic society. In a capitalistic society, it's a competitive market. And in any competitive market where it's like, I would break you. You look at we go back to the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts and talk about the Fords, the Carnegies, and all these great entrepreneurs. We also can look at how, like, when Rockefeller pours the oil, Carnegie blames Tom for the pullout. I mean, Carnegie's mentor, Tom, dies when this railroad industry goes down because this train stops moving when this oil pours out, when that Rockefeller pours out. John D. Rockefeller don't want oil no more in the trains for whatever reason. So guess what? Some people get angry because Tom dies. Tom is Carnegie's mentor. Carnegie says, hey, I want revenge. You creating anger. My mentor, who taught me from 12 years old, when I went to work at his railroad company, introduced me to the steel market. Because that's how Carnegie got into making the steel. Introduces me to the steel market. Now, you pull oil from his trains, and I'm going to blame you for killing him because you stressed him out. This is what entrepreneurship is. This is what capitalism is. It creates anxiety and anger, dog eat dog world. I got to get mine, you get yours. All right, I'll pull out and cause the whole country a recession. All right, so, and make all y'all depressed. And you'll get so depressed, Tom, you'll die. Now, Carnegie, you ain't got no mentor. So guess what? Now, Carnegie is mad. But Carnegie is mad because his mentor helps him get funded.
Yeah.
He helps him become not basically able to be competed against in the steel market. Yeah. Because he can now produce based on the help of this investor and the engineers that he knows, the scientists. He able to now figure out that when we merge iron and carbon together, we get steel. And we can make a whole railroad steel track in 15 minutes versus 2 weeks now. A new inventor, say today, so money can do. So now I'm talking about capitalism. All right, so and I'm just saying it's a fun thing to practice, but it ain't fun when you broke and you go broke and you put in poverty and your business shut down. Now you start saying, where's the equality? All right, so look, that's why as a successful entrepreneur, I try to spread equality now. Because that's my spiritual richness I'm talking about. My spiritual richness, that pays me back. You're not going to put me in poverty. The energy of the ancestors, the Most High going to keep paying me to do this work. Because I'm not just worrying about the green dollar. I tell them it's more money than just the cash. You worried about currency richness. I'm more concerned with spiritual richness, because spiritual richness is where I find my light. To be able to speak to you like I am, to be able to love you not because of your skin color or because of my skin color, or not because of what you've been through or what I've been through, but because of where I know we can go, because of where I know we can actually build in unity as a thinking people and not people that's thinking like parrots in each other's presence. We're thinking like, let's help somebody. Let's get somebody to understand more. Let's get somebody to have more knowledge about and awareness about how to be motivated to come out of this condition that they may be in, struggling and thinking that there's no hope, thinking that there's no way I can do this. You think I ain't think like that when they was telling me they offered me a 58-year plea bargain?
Wow.
In prison at 19 years old?
Wow.
And if I was, some guys was young and just not educated on no level to say, no, I'm not taking that. And they took that.
Yeah, that is really hard. The whole plea bargain thing.
Yes.
People get into the situations, they don't know anything about the law. They don't know anything about the business.
Exactly.
They have some lawyer who doesn't care about.
Yep. And they end up being victim to the system. And it don't matter if you black, you white, you Asian, you Hispanic. It do not matter when you get in that courtroom. If you're economically impoverished, you're going to get a court-appointed lawyer. If you're mentally impoverished, you don't know the law, and you're not going to be able to defend yourself. Your mental education awareness about law, you can fight your law case better than your own lawyer. Yeah. If you really know. But if you don't know, you're held at the mercies of, hopefully you have some cash to pay an educated person to actually free you and save your life. Because you might end up with life behind that steel wall. I call it the living graveyard.
So you were in prison for 11 years.
10 years and 10 months.
10 years and 10 months.
Mm-hmm.
So you prepared to get out. How do you get your first job, or how do you build your first business? You get out of prison. What happens?
Well, I always had this thing while in prison that proper preparation prevents poor performance. I married that concept. Yeah. That every day that I'm in prison, I have to use that as a day, like they're going to release me tomorrow and I'm not ready. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I end up getting 8 trades while in prison. I got electrical, carpentry, plumbing, horticulture. I took electrical twice. I got building maintenance, computer software applications. If I take you upstairs, you'll see all my plats in my past, present, and future chapter 11. Wow. Where I take people through these tours. Yeah. I'll show you that later. Yes, so I took so many trades and courses. I took college courses through correspondence, mail, bookkeeping, because I was determined, and I knew that if I was determined not to come back to prison. Yeah. And I knew if I didn't learn business and learn different trades and skills, I would be at the mercy of having to sell drugs to survive, or being out there just robbing people to survive. And I wasn't willing to take all my potential that I've been blessed with to do things different and do something else and do that with it. I had already seen where that lead. So it was kind of like common sense to me. And I tell people that's the most important sense. Your book knowledge, your street knowledge it can serve you well at times, but your common sense is your most greatest sense, because it was me knowing that if I don't educate myself now, then the aftermath of me being released, I'll be sent right back. So I use every day in prison like a day of college. I never forgot what Malcolm X said when I was a teenager before going to prison when I watched this movie. Malcolm X said that prison was one of the most tactful or greatest universities he had ever encountered. So I kept that in mind, that it's like before I went to prison, I knew I would go to prison eventually. I had accepted that. That's the criminal mind that's very dangerous in society. When you've already accepted, I'm going regardless. I'm going to keep living like this till you catch me. That mind needs intervention instantly. And that's why I specialize my focus on making sure I got stuff to grab that. Like, if I can run into them and get to them, I could change them. I believe that. That's like why you say you believe everybody can get it. That's where you get that from. Like, that's my passion. Like, I'll fight to the death that's true. If I could just get to them and talk to them and be around them long enough. No, it ain't gonna happen overnight. This is why I'm setting up all these educational platforms through my websites, so people can start all around the world engaging the audios, the online platform curriculums that's built for them to go through audio visual training. All this stuff is being put up so that because I want to reach these people. I want to be able to talk to them like we talking now, because once you motivate a person, it's like turning on their switch. It's like you're jump starting their battery. I feel like I'm some jumper cables that's connected to this big battery box. If I just could plug into their heart, I could turn on their empathy. If I could plug into their mind, I could turn on their consciousness and their reality thinking, away from the delusional thinking that's causing them to constantly react to stuff that's not productive for them.
So you had a lot of different avenues, a lot of different things you could pursue, because you were really well prepared. So what did you pursue? Like the very first thing.
I'm sorry, I skipped over your question. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I got to talking. Yeah, I do that. Because I speak from the heart more so than they just respond. So, okay. So, yeah, back to that question, yeah. So, yeah, after leaving prison and actually coming out here, that first thing that I actually was looking for was business. I wanted my own business. I had studied business. I had learned how to set up my own LLC. I had learned how to set up a corporation, an S corporation. Knew the difference from the S from a C corporation. I understood nonprofit from for-profit. Different type of business structures that you can register. The sole proprietorship. When I first come home, I didn't have driver's license, so I couldn't drive no cars. My mom would get mad at me if I tried, so I had to wait for 30 days. I got my learners. So I had a plan when I came home, though. Leaving in prison, I had, like I was leading up to the story, I lived that every day in there. Malcolm X, you threw me off talking about what you said. But yeah, when I was in there, I had this red book where I had a couple of these stacks of red book tablets that I used to buy off a canteen. And I had filled them up. And I had like day one, go to DMV, get my license. I have made sure before I came home that I had a birth certificate and a social security card, where I could use that birth certificate and that social security card to identify myself. I was proactive about that, so that when I went to DMV, I could get a real ID and get my learners. So I could get my learners. I had to hold my learners for 30 days in order to get my driver's license, because I had been locked up for over a decade. And so I could only drive if someone was in the car with me. And I wouldn't let nothing hold me back. So I started walking. So I walked up to the pawn shop and I bought a $10 or $15 bicycle. And when I bought this bicycle and I actually went to, as soon as I bought this bike, I had a book bag on my back. I bought this bicycle. It was a purple bike, a girl bike. I didn't care. It would get me around. Instead of me walking, I could ride that bike all through this city of Suffolk. So I rode that bike up to the courthouse because I knew I could go there to the clerk and register a sole proprietorship business. So I registered, once I had my ID from DMV, I was able to go up there. I registered the sole proprietorship business. And when I registered that, it was a commercial cleaning services because I had took the industrial cleaning while I was locked up. I knew how to work the bufflers and all that. So I had went into the pawn shop. I also bought me some a Kirby vac so I could shampoo people carpets. It was good vac. So I had that. I had my bicycle. I had a Ford Explorer that belonged to my mom, where I could put things, equipment in the truck and go do some yards after to go do some houses after 30 days in some commercial buildings. So long story short, before I could do all that, I ended up getting me a job while I had the sole proprietorship and the Kirby vac. I ended up getting me a job teaching this lady. She had her own business. I was teaching her how to market because I had studied marketing, sales, public relations. I write on all this stuff. I had studied public relations, marketing, sales. I knew how to brand businesses. So what I did was I started creating different flyers and stuff for her, and I showed her like this how I can help grow your company. She was into healthcare. So I was showing her how to, and I had increased her company roster real quick. But while in that building, I was able to exercise my business expertise by showing her marketing. I was able to talk to other businesses on all the floors, and I was getting these commercial cleaning contracts with my commercial cleaning, all-star commercial cleaning company that I had set up and started through the sole proprietorship. I wasn't an LLC yet or a corporation. I was just a sole proprietorship. And with a sole proprietorship in America, you have to file your SC, your Schedule C form with your tax form, and that's simple, just like a regular simple. So I was working for Miss Janice at her healthcare company, and I was doing her marketing, and I was getting contracts in the building that was paying me like at least $800 every 2 weeks. And so I was using that money to build my marketing up and stuff. But in the process, I was also learning healthcare. As I was marketing her company, I was learning healthcare. And so she ended up getting incarcerated.
Oh.
Because someone had actually was her biller and her had a fallout, and they was somebody was billing fraudulent claims. And so it led to her getting a federal case, and she ended up in federal prison.
Oh my God.
When she go to federal prison, though, I had enough knowledge to start my own company in that area. So I started my own healthcare company. When she came from prison, I actually thanked her. And I, picked her up from the halfway house. She's one of my close friends' wives now. They married.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it's crazy how the tables turn.
Yeah.
But that's how they turn. And I actually was able to start a company in healthcare, which led to me starting not only the home health, but the group homes for mental health support, as well as the mental health skill building, where you actually send counselors out to talk to people and take them places just to get them out and help them develop certain skills that they need to become more normal lives in society.
So the current businesses, I think I've found a few. We have that is the CDCG, right?
Yeah, that's the Certified Development Coaching Group.
Yes, it's the coaching, and you still have a healthcare business. Is that the same that you started?
Yes, I have a few healthcare companies. One of them is OCN, that's Omnipotent Community Networks. And then I have Peace in Life, that's the group home. We have Brilliant Healthcare. We have, and I say we because I have business partners, which are my children's mother. My daughter's mom, she's one of my business partners in the healthcare industry. And when I met her, she was actually working for Verizon. And it's kind of like I can't have a relationship with a woman unless she gonna be an entrepreneur with me. It's kind of true.
It's your
I can be honest. Like, so that her working for Verizon, it just wasn't gonna work for long. So luckily Verizon found her, and I was like, thanks. Now you can come help me. And she just didn't know what she was in for. So, but now she runs a company that makes $4.5 million a year.
Wow.
And that's
the healthcare.
Yeah, that's one of the healthcare companies, and she's actually becoming more and more better as an entrepreneur, I can say. And that's through struggling and learning. But I was able to engage her. I was like, come over here and help me. Because me being an ex-felon, I knew that certain doors they may try to block me out of. I was like, so they're going to try to block me. Come on. I said, you got my daughter. Let me teach you business. And so I encouraged her. The first year it wasn't easy. At first I started it without her. I ended up starting it without her. I started my own healthcare company without her name on it, and I was trying to get her to help me, but she just wasn't an entrepreneur at the time.
Mm-hmm.
She was more like didn't take it as serious. She couldn't see what I saw. What I saw was ability to create a cash cow to help me produce my passion that you see now. And so I was like, I know what these businesses can do. I was like, you have to come on here and learn these businesses,
Mm-hmm.
and you can help me. This is not really my passion, but I can teach you enough about these businesses where you can run these businesses, and I can get to my passion, which is helping children start out of prison and starting schools to do that, and educational platforms that would just change America. That's my passion. That's my calling. It's my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it happened just like that. I was able to teach her entrepreneurship. At first, she didn't take it as serious as she should have, but she was slow walking it. And eventually, I got her to go into class to learn how to be a CNA. I said, listen, you don't have to work. All you have to do is go be certified as a CNA.
What's
That's
a CNA?
a certified nurse assistant.
Oh, okay, okay.
I said, that's all I need you to do. She was pregnant with my first daughter. I said, please. So she ended up, she could get it for free, the training. She was pregnant. Go get it. So she went, got it. All right. So I used to go up there with her class sometimes. She was taking it at DePaul over in Norfolk, Virginia. She got the class to become a CNA. I said, thank you. I explained to her that your job, my job, if I get a job, you get a job, it don't matter. I said, I just need you to do one thing. Be an administrator and be the CNA. That's it. I'm gonna make you more than an administrator though. I'm gonna make you a business partner. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
And as a result, I said, if you do what I tell you, you ain't never want for no money. You be the CNA, if we had this one patient that she was working. No woman can work this patient. He was terrible. But I understood his condition as a man. So I did more for the patient by her side than she had to do. I just needed her to have the certification. That was my drive to create a check coming in our home from you being a certified nurse and a business owner.
So
That we wouldn't have to be in poverty and take care of our daughter.
yeah, so the money and the safety that comes with it is from the healthcare business where if that's the one I'm thinking about, where you send nurses to people's homes and they take care of them.
Yeah, we do send nurses to people's homes and they take care of them. Yes, and we have a lot of employees in that area as well. But besides that, I've had these other companies like the logistics. I tried companies in with logistics. Not always good business partner. I had clothing lines that was doing very well. Could have went very far. But like I said, I would let nothing take me from my passion.
Yeah.
My passion is to help people develop into their purpose so that they can be great too.
So that is your books that you write.
Yes.
That is your coaching that you
Yes.
do. This is the museum that you
Yes.
run. This is where your heart is.
Yes, because if
And
I
this is
die,
probably not what makes you like extremely.
this don't
rich,
make me
right?
exactly. This is not what makes me rich at all right now. It makes me rich internally, but externally, it's a whole different wavelength. And like I said, my passion is gonna always serve me because it's divinely inspired. It's divinely. This is a project that's bigger than me. It's not a project that I really claim. I tell people it came to me. I claim it as a responsibility and an assignment that was given to me to actually carry out and actually put museums all over the country because the presence of them will make people think, am I thinking like a criminal instead of an entrepreneur? Entrepreneurs built this society. That's who created this wealth. That's who created these business concepts. Because see, before there wasn't labor laws. When we talk about the Carnegies and the Rockefellers and all them people, it wasn't labor laws. You know, them labor laws got implemented due to unions, and that's where a lot of the equality on the job market, these unions, these people, workers was dying. They start pulling together though, like, hold up, if we gonna make steel to build skyscrapers and railroads and build up America, then let's start to get something out of this besides just a headache and no return on the income. Like, because basically you're not getting a return on the income. Yeah, you're just happy to see your family eat a meal of food, but with that meal of food come tomorrow if you get sick and you can't go in that factory.
So your life story and what you're telling me, and also just like the spirit that you're projecting, it's all sounds very like modern American dream to me. Like, what does this phrase mean to you, American dream, and can you even, like, do you identify with that?
I tell people a lot. I said, listen, I'm gonna be honest. The dream that most people see as a dream is an illusion. It's delusion. It's an illusion. It's this fairy tale put in front of you, like you can become the multi-millionaire. And I'll tell you why it's a delusion. It's put in front of these youth that I'm trying to keep on a track of becoming engineers, philanthropists, powerful scientists, inventors, and things like that. Basically, they're taught the delusion about the American dream. The dream is not what they think it is. It's not to become a rapper, or it's not to become a rapper and tell a million teenagers and adolescents, developing youth, that it's okay to grab 50 bricks of cocaine and you not going to jail. That you basically gonna grab, tell them what happens when they grab 50 bricks of cocaine, but also tell them what happened when they grab 50 mortar bricks and build a building. So when you're not teaching and educating, because music is one of the easiest ways to educate people. And it's also one of the easiest ways to de-educate people. If I can rap and get paid millions to perform in the Super Bowl as a Blood or a Crip, then I'm showing the youth that I can get paid to be a gang member and promote this activity, and it would be glorified by people, and I would have fans everywhere hooping and hollering behind me. But then, if that's the dream, then how can that same dream be a nightmare when I wear a blue or a red bandana to high school or the middle school, and you label me a gang member and put me in the files and carry it through my life on record that I'm a gang member, then people scared to hire me in the economy for these great jobs and things. So that's a trick. That's a straight trick. That is what I call entrapment by media imagery. You're entrapping the image of success to them, and it's really an image of failure that you're entrapped in their mind. That image is not an image of success. And so they're gonna think that the community advocate that promotes the life to them is trying to kill them, not the one that's promoting the death. So that death from those lyrics and those images they seen on TV, because they wasn't at the Super Bowl, they just was watching the football game with their dad. But their favorite rapper that's a gang member that talks about killing everybody in the community is giving millions to perform. So how do you balance that when you don't bring a conversation like we having now to the Super Bowl and let them hear that? See what I'm saying?
Yeah. But so that is like the young people you meet, that is like sort of their dream.
Their dream is to, in America, is
yeah.
the music, to become a TV star. Everyone wants to be seen.
Yeah.
They want to be famous.
be seen. I think
They want to
being
be
seen,
seen. Being
that is
seen is being famous to them. You're aware of who they are. So if they want to be seen, we can give them platforms to be seen positively. And that's what I strive to do. We know they want to be seen. So why starve them from that? Let them be seen. It's a way to do that. Let them know you see them. Most of them don't know that it's seen, so they commit suicide.
Is that something that happens a lot in the community?
Yes. There's a lot of suicide going. I just personally had a nephew commit suicide, but he wouldn't come to me with it. He went to people around me, but he wouldn't contact me. I really believe that he knew. He had his mind made up.
Yeah.
I think he knew if he contacted me, I would have stopped at him. So he didn't make contact with me because he know I loved him. He know if money wasn't an issue and I would have gave him some. He know that. I would have gave him money before he took his life. 28 years old. Never disrespected me. One of my most greatest nephews I can put my hands on and say he was never, ever one of those that you expected, and it's always the one you least suspect that's going through it the most. And it broke my heart.
Yeah, that's horrible.
But I take his pictures up there with everybody's sign. It's in the front up there. I'll show it to you. Everybody's signed. A lot of his loved ones. And I try to really get people to understand that suicide is one of the things we strive to prevent through talk therapy. Because you don't know when a person's going to commit suicide. Your conversation you have with them today may save them from that tomorrow. There's a lot of things you can say to people in a moment of suicide that can change their life. Yeah. And the one thing that I believe that I could have said to my nephew, given it that it's God fate, is your time to go, your time to go. The one thing I think I could have said that to my nephew, I could have said, okay, you want to take your life. Can we do this tomorrow?
Yeah.
Can we just think for 24 hours? We got tomorrow to do this. We don't have to do this right now. We can do this tomorrow. Let's just talk for 24 hours. Sometime that conversation, that one calm voice, not emotional, because that's my sister's son. God knows I knew my sister loved her son. But sometimes just not that emotional voice and that voice of reasoning, of clarity. Because when we get too emotional, our clarity, it gets blocked. The thing is just like if you get angry, it blocks your clarity. You can't speak the same. Your vision becomes a little impaired. You start thinking delusional things. So that cortisol dripping in your blood. That's why I talk a lot about the amygdala hijack. Because it's the fight or flight mode where we actually go there, off to the left. Then we do something we regret, like Mike Tyson bites Holyfield's ear off. He get mad. Because Holyfield boned him. People don't see that. They get frustrated. And he lose ability to control his emotional response. So he has an amygdala hijack. Bite him, cost him. Now you regret it though. Fight or flight mode kicked in. You lose your license. Mike Tyson, you can't box for a while. Your career starts to go through a change, all because of one incident. But it's in that type of environment, he had an amygdala hijack. But he's considered a skilled fighter who could take all that he was taking without reacting like that. So you got to pay for that. And my nephew's situation, I'm not going to say he had an amygdala hijack, he had this or that. But I can say that I would have asked him, can we wait 24 hours and talk about this? And I think that those words in a calm moment would have said, okay, that's what he called me, He would say, okay, And I could have had deterred that, possibly. Maybe I could not. Maybe I could. I'll never know. But what I do know, it gave me even more strength to fight for suicide, gun violence, and homicide prevention. And my goal is, if I ever was to start a nonprofit, that would be what it's for, to prevent those three things right there in this society. Because they are one of the fears that actually creates the imbalance in this society, because it creates a fear in people that can help you to even help you, because they don't know how you're going to react if they think you're suicidal. They don't know how you're going to react if they think you're going to commit gun violence. They don't know how you're going to react if you're putting their life in a situation where a homicide may be committed or prevented amongst their lives. They're going to be a little leery to deal with you and in fear. So it creates an inequality, because their response, those people instead of engaging in community engagement, they running from that engagement. They like, I just want to have safety over here. I don't want to go down there and deal with that. But that's where a person like me come in at. I'm going to deal with that. I'm not going to run from that, because I could have ran from it a long time ago. Like, I just came back from Miami, and it was I'm not going to lie, you helped me come back from Miami a little quicker, because I just got back and it been 48 hours, and I had to make sure I was prepared for you. And I'm going to tell you straight up, I didn't want to come back. But my passion bring me back. Coming back to Suffolk, Virginia from Miami, because when I'm in Miami, I'm in North Beach, South Beach. I'm all on the boats on the water. I'm behind Puff Daddy house watching. I'm at Dr. Pfizer and them house that created the Viagra's and the COVID vaccines. I'm looking at his trees he done imported from Africa. There's $8,000 per tree. He got them all around the yard. I'm in Miami. I don't want to come back to Virginia. Like, seriously. So my passion bring me back. My purpose bring me back. I'll always come back. But I won't be stuck in one area, because this is not just for Virginia. This is for everybody. That's my equality. It's not just for me. It's not just for males. It's not just for females. It's not just for black people. It's not just for white people. It's not just for Asian people. Not just for Hispanics. Not just for no one nationality of people. This is for everybody, because I believe in feeding anybody that's hungry. If you say he a Muslim, it don't matter. He's still hungry. You say he a Christian, it don't matter. He's still hungry. You say he an atheist, he's still hungry. If he's an atheist to you and you're a Christian or a Muslim, and you can educate him on the good that you say is in you, then give him time not to starve and feed him so you can educate him. Because I deal with incarceration last, education first. So educate before you incarcerate. Because if you learn the real form of incarceration, you can educate people out of the circumstance where you can build more schools instead of prisons. And it'll trickle effect.
So you talked about your mother at the beginning of our conversation. So she was able to see you get out of that mindset and get out of the bad situation you were in. She saw you get out of prison.
Right.
And she saw you build a new life. So
yes.
How was that for her? And how was it for you to show her?
Yeah.
Mom.
She was one of my motivations. My mom came to see me every weekend when I was in prison, unless I was in segregation or isolation or something. She came to see me every weekend when I was locked up for all those 10 years. And I always said, Mom, don't come so much. But she would come in the way. I said, call for your car. I might have got in some trouble. I might be in the hole. Because the first 5 years, I used to get in trouble, and when I got locked, even when I was locked up. And I would go off unless they gave me my books while I was in the hole. I was flood the cells and everything. But her seeing that adjustment from that to me coming out and doing what I do, I told her, Mom, when I was in prison, it's nothing I can do for you except what I do for myself in here. And I used to tell every guy that's locked up there, I said, look, ain't nothing you can do for people in society except what you do for yourself while you in here. Because it's that what you do for yourself while you in here that you can take back out in society and repay those supporters of you. If you don't do nothing with what you got as far as time in there, then you just wasted time. And you can use that time. I ain't have to worry about paying a light bill when in prison. So the fact I ain't have to worry about paying a light bill, I could spend that energy on something else. And I couldn't skip educate myself. So I spent a lot of that energy on educating myself. I went to Rastafarian religious service, Islamic, Nation of Islam, Christianity, whether it was Orthodox Muslim or unorthodox, whether it was Jehovah's Witness Christianity from the Baptist to the Methodist. I went to every religious service you could think of, just trying to educate myself on life and people and humanity and why people don't get along. Why is there so much division? And I started learning because we all speak these different languages and nobody wants to investigate why they don't what they don't understand. And so they fear from what they don't understand cause them to repel against good. Because there's some good in everybody. I really believe that. I don't believe everybody is just engulfed with bad. And I don't believe that. I think that everybody has some good. However, hurt people, yes. You can't hurt people and expect them not to respond in hurtful ways. However, even they can change from that hurt. They can repel that hurt. They can put on armor against being hurt again, which don't mean they have to shut down and have a shield block. Because a lot of things causes the depression you see in America even. The inequalities that you witness while being here from your country. A lot of things cause that, and a lot of that's caused by the fact that people are not aware of those reasons. They see anger, but they don't see the underlying effects of anger. Those psychodynamics, those hidden effects, that humiliation that people...
It's interesting. I moved to DC earlier this year. I lived in Maryland before. And I live on a street where there's a lot of like nice restaurants and apartment buildings. And then there's a lot of homelessness.
Oh.
And I think really this juxtaposition that is American City.
Right.
You see
It is.
the suffering.
It is.
The hopelessness, the not knowing how can I even help anyone. I can give you $2, sure.
Right.
I have $1.
Right.
But what is that going to do for anyone?
Right.
And at the same time, you have people who work in politics, they work in Congress, they work for lobbyists. They're making good money. They're paying a lot of money to rent an apartment in this building that's right there.
Right.
And sort of, how does this go together? How can this exist right next to each other?
Right. How does this coexist? It's like seeing the White House and you go a few miles from the White House and you got great poverty. Yes.
Exactly.
So you wonder how does this so much homelessness, poverty exists right here where all the business decisions are made. Because also in Lincoln, 1779, when we talk about that Declaration of Independence, it also said that government was there for a purpose of establishing that base. Yeah, and that government derived its power from the consent of the people. So the consent of the people has a responsibility that they need to take a look at why this homelessness is. Because a lot of people say the government, when we talk about the White House, and I'm saying that because we talk about the White House, poverty existing right from the White House. Yeah. So the people are consenting to this poverty. They're consenting to this poverty we see. They're consenting to this mental mind development. And not intentionally always, because a lot of them are being confused. Look at the Trump and Biden situation right now. Who's not confused? Who's not confused? You done charged the running president of the United States and gave him 34 felonies charges, basically. And this is who we got to choose for president, either Trump or Biden. We know Biden too old. Like, what are you really telling us? Like, I use common sense. We got to ask ourselves, because these people are entrepreneurs now. When you talking about the development, the entrepreneurship, business, wealth, we got to deal with the truth. These people, the United States of America is a corporation. It's a corporation, and the corporations are ran by presidents. They have vice presidents, secretaries, treasurers, and all these other boards that's governed by the president. But those presidents work for founders of these corporations. I mean, we got to be real. These founders, who are the founders of these corporations that these people working for? So these faces you see that's in front of these companies, you got to ask yourself about the real agendas. And the people are being thrown with a left hook and a right hook, Democrat hook or Republican hook. I'm like, let's deal with reality. Because I'm about who's talking truth. Because I don't believe everything negative you say about Trump. No more than I believe everything negative CNN might say about Trump. I don't believe everything Fox News might say about Biden.
But then, so what do you do with that?
Right. What do you do with that?
Two choices. You don't like either of them. And this is American politics.
Right.
You just stay home?
There you go. Do you stay home and just let them run the country? You just say, hey, this is what you do. Like I said, The people consent. We have to go to the root, the Declaration of their Independence, and talk about what that consent means for government. We as the people consent. So the government is put in power by the voice and the support of the people in the world, that of the country that put them there. If we don't take responsibility of educating ourselves as people, we're never going to be able to identify who we putting in there and who we not putting in there. Because we knew they was trying to charge Trump with felonies before, when he was running up, when we had all these other candidates we could have put in support behind, and we didn't. So there's no need for people to complain now about whether Biden stay or Trump go. Which my opinion to you is Biden's going up out of there. And Trump's going in there with the felonies.
That's what people seem to think, yeah.
Yeah, that's my opinion. Trump's gonna go in there with the felonies. And guess what you're in? You're in the ex-felon entrepreneurship retail museum. Can I be mad at Trump for going in there with felonies? That don't change nothing for me, because you give him 34 felonies. But I'm looking at the overall picture of this. When did we do this in this country? When did we put the president on trial? When did it get so bad? And I gotta ask myself, since I'm asking myself, you people need to ask themselves, when did this really happen? What caused this to take place? Because at this moment, you're looking at a situation where Trump, he's definitely an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And Biden come from a family of entrepreneurs.
Oh, yeah.
So
I don't think there's really a president that has not come from
entrepreneur,
wealthy.
right? And I'm not, to my knowledge. You're right. And so when we look at the way the country develops, entrepreneurs are trying to put themselves in the position to lead the country. And for who they leading it for? Why do Trump got a gag clause right now? Why? What is it that he can't tell? He has to protect people. Gag clauses are supposed to protect people so that their life not put in danger when they expose certain information. Okay, we get that. All right, so at the same time, is the gag clause just built around protecting human life, or is the gag clause built around silencing people against certain administrative flaws that Biden people have actually been tied into? Because from my understanding, they got arguments with Biden's sons for accepting money from China. I don't know. That's why I said it's constant back and forth information, and it creates a confusion for the population. And I could go into more details about all this that we just talked about, but I'm not, because it's a constantly deterrence away from things that would help people really develop themselves so they can be knowledgeable and well equipped enough to make a proper decision before they're in a reactionary situation like they are now. Now they're in a reactionary situation where they have to react to Biden or Trump.
Mm-hmm. It's what you said. It's deterring people from getting involved in politics and caring about politics and trying to change stuff. Every person I talk about who's not a professor or a politician tells me Congress isn't working, and I'm new here. I don't have a stake in this.
They're breaking the country down.
Yeah, I'm living here for a few years, but this is not my home. I live somewhere else. So I'm just looking from the outside.
Yes.
People are telling me Congress is not working. Everything's a shit show. Everything is just, people are just fighting. Everything's just PR.
That's what it is.
About the issues. So even the people who are interested in politics can't really take it seriously.
No.
In a way to really affect change.
No, because you're bouncing in one leader.
Yeah.
Let's not even look at the presidents. Let's look at the mayors in this city.
Yeah.
You're bouncing in one mayor after another. Then you're letting the next one replace the next one and saying, well, the problems that they didn't fix, I'm going to fix them. Then I'm going to create some problems and leave it to the next one to fix them. And I'm going to blame this one for these problems because that one didn't do this, and I'm going to do this. And it's like a constant shit show. Exactly what you said. It is, because it has a situation where nobody knows who to trust. And so where you get a trust, you're going to get chaos.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm also getting the sense of that you focus more on the individual, empowering the individual, because it's really, really hard to go in the system.
Right, because if you focus on the government, see, the government, you don't have to tear down a negative force. It'll tear itself down. You don't have to focus on that and be negative about that. Because my thing is not to tear down leadership, to build up successful leadership. We need government. These people out here cannot, in this society right now, without some type of order, these people would kill each other. All out mass murder. They would kill it. They need, where you have a society of people who's not educated enough to grow their own food, and you close down a grocery store, you're gonna need government, order, police, military, everything. And the leaders know this. But so why not teach people to grow their own food? They got a choice to go grow it, yeah. But what if they don't got no land to grow it with? Grow it at? Oh, they could use a pot. Yeah, but what if they don't got no seeds? They could use some seeds, but they gotta get the seeds somehow financially, on average.
Yeah.
Unless they know how to go into the wilderness and they're in a country
well.
to dig out certain vegetation and get the seeds.
Yeah.
Everybody don't know that, but they can learn that. And everything that they need don't grow here necessarily. So we need an educated society that in order to have equality. You're not going to get equality out of no society where the people are uneducated. And you have if education is measured on a scale from 1 to 10, and you have 80% of the population educated from 1 to 8, and 20% of the population educated from 1 to 10, that 20% educated from 1 to 10 gonna rule. You know why? Because they understand the other two levels. That the ones that's educated from the 1 to 8 don't understand. If that knowledge at those other two levels is on a level where it deal with the foundation awareness of how you stand on solid ground and gravity, and it can take that gravity away, it can take your world away.
Before we go through the museum, could you walk me through your outfit? You already mentioned your necklaces, and you said it's like so.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey,
Okay, I'll walk you through this. I will do that. Now, I'm gonna tell you, I watch jewelry. I love jewelry because I've seen how jewelry motivates these youth, and I grew up liking jewelry. And it wasn't I don't believe in deterring away from my upbringing to the point where those children going through what I went through won't identify with me. So I know they want these diamonds. So, and being that they want these diamonds and gold, it's their motivation. It's like their first eye opener to a conversation with me. They think they gonna get some drugs. They don't know me. If they don't know me, they say, "Oh, he gonna be able to get on through him." They think they gonna get some drugs. They gonna be able to get into the lifestyle and get busy. So I'm like, yeah, you are gonna be able to get busy, but you're gonna get busy in a different way. And so the same way the police badge, because I have my coaches at the CDCG, we all, if you notice up there, we all have these police looking very serious badges. They cost a lot of money. They cost like $500 and some per badge. So it's like, and they got mine is gold, and a lot of the other coaches theirs is silver. The EE coaches, we also have NPCC coaches. But the NPCC coaches are non-productive cognitive correction coaches. So in the sense where they attracted this jury, I tell them, I said, listen, the badge, they run from the police badge. All right? They're gonna throw their AK under the car. They might even pull their AK out on me, trying to get this, but they don't run from the police. But guess what? I ain't worried about them pulling no AK out on me. I know how to measure environments. I know how, when they see my purpose, where I come from, I know they're going to say, no, I love him. I don't hate him enough to do that to him. He'll give me a necklace. I don't have to take it. Because, see, I'm going to tell you, I identify envy and jealousy. Jealousy, yeah, you can deal with jealousy. It's just a little motivation in that. Envy, dangerous. Jealousy, a person like your watch. They said, dang, I want one of them. I love that, man. That's nice. Envy, they said, nah, take that off. I want that for myself, and I don't want you to have. Jealousy might create a motivation. Dang, I'm a little jealous of you. I'm jealous of you.
So is that what you're trying to trigger?
You triggering the motivation.
Being like,
Don't be envious. Be motivated.
You don't have to sell drugs. I'm a businessman. I just do computer stuff. Like that's
right.
I just talk to people. That's
you can write books and buy a bigger necklace than the drug dealer that's selling you that drugs in quantity of big purchases so you can flip it. You can flip books and wear this jewelry. Yeah. You can open museums and charge $29 per tour. Trust me, if I really want to get this busy, where I want to stop running all my other business and just run this, I can tour people through here all day. That's going to take me away from making my other money and being able to relax and raise my daughters. So I'll be honest with people. This business is, it's going to cost them some money to get me to just stop doing what I'm doing and just come do this all around the world. But it's going to help people, though. It's going to be more helpful than the money that I get. It's going to be more helpful to the people. But eventually, it's somebody philanthropist out there or humanitarian that's out there that's looking for this project. And they're going to know it when they see it. And they're going to say, no, I'm going to invest in that. And the reason why they're going to invest in it, it won't be for me. It's going to be because they care about people. And they want to see children be more than prisoners. They want to see them be more than murderers. They want to see them be philanthropists, humanitarians, entrepreneurs, engineers, scientists, all kind of scientists, all kind of engineers, all kind of inventors. And they want to see them. I do a camp here during the summer. It's called CAMP, Creativity Above Mental Programming. That's what, and I get them to tap into their creativity and get out of the mental program that's actually causing them not to be creative. We are all creators. They just got to remember that the creation is never greater than the creator. But we're all creators. And they can take what their creativity allows, their potential allows them to create and do wonders with it. So I do a museum design class, a museum concept designing class during that camp. To teach them that there may be a museum in you. I done visit all these museums. You got ice cream museums. You got color museums. Every time
museum, chocolate museum.
Right. Everywhere I go, I visit museums. So in this area, you think, I know I don't have 8,000 youth in this city thinking that they can build museums.
Yeah.
But when I finish taking them through my museum concept designing classes and workshops, they be like, dang. They start thinking, I could create a museum out of rocks. I could create a museum out of this. And then they see, he created a museum out of his experience and his knowledge.
Let's go.
Come on.
Yeah,
let's go. Okay. You see right here on this brick? It says the original location of Suffolk's Castle Inn, built in 1789, and where the Marquis de Lafayette and his entourage spent the night while visiting Suffolk during his 1825 historic visit to America. The Castle Inn was reportedly destroyed by Suffolk's fire in 1837. So as you see, between 1789, when it was first built, it was called the Castle Inn. And remind you, Marquis de Lafayette came over here during the wartime to actually provide aid for America. So he traveled through here and dined at the courthouse up the street. They do this whole tour. It's an old courthouse up the street where he dined. They do the tour. He came down here, and this was the Castle Inn where he actually lived at. So he lived in here with his entourage for that night as he sailed out. to give more support to the American areas. So now when you see where it says in 1837, after being destroyed by a fire, the Norfolk Southern Railroad down here, interesting, we talking about railroad industries and things. This railroad track right here where all these cars are crossing, from that railroad track all the way down to that corner of this historic, this is the Suffolk Historic Business District. It was set on fire and it burnt everything down. So they had to rebuild this street, all right, during that time. Now, once they rebuilt it, this is what you see, and you can't change these properties and the structure of this stuff but so much. So it's got rules in any historic district, you got rules. So I wanted to show you that, to give you a little history on the building.
And
so,
then when it was rebuilt?
It was rebuilt in 1837.
Oh, 1837.
Yeah, they started to rebuild it right after.
This is pretty much the original.
Since 1837.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful
Thank you.
building.
Yeah, and so I turned it into the E-Firm building in 2019. And so when they come into this tour, the first thing they see, of course, is the lobby. Yeah. And this is the courtroom right there that you're looking at. Yeah. That's where we put the youth on trial. I do a CTS tour, which is considered correcting them straight. I didn't want to do a scared straight tour because I was taken through a scared straight tour that did not work for me. Yeah.
When you were in school?
Yes, when I was younger. Yeah. And see, scared straight kind of plays on the ego of a thug. Yeah. A thug, you can't say, I'm scaring you straight. They're like, you ain't gonna scare me. And that was the reaction that I had. So when I bring them in here and I do a CTS tour, I close it down just for that family. And I do the correcting them straight. And that correcting them straight tour is performed where their parent is the judge, the prosecutor. Oh. The coach from the Certified Development Coaching Group is the judge. Mm-hmm. And that actually, if they're found guilty, they do 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, whatever. They do it in minutes. 5 minutes, 10 minutes in the cell. This is the cell where they go in.
Right, we see there's a cop mannequin.
Yes, he's the police. I want them to know it's real. This is the cell that they go in. Yeah. And now once they get in this cell, they're actually in here for those 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. And they realize that door cannot open once we close it and lock them in. So they start to really engage on a different level, how their freedom can be controlled and put in a controlled environment. Because some of them really have emotional reactions to being put in here. But once their parents sign the waiver to put them in here, they're going in the cell.
So just so people know what it looks like, we don't have any windows?
No windows.
We have this tiny bed thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that probably is pretty realistic.
Yes, that bed is realistic. And of course, this bed right here is, and the toilet right here, that little hard metal toilet. Yeah. All that stuff is
where you sleep.
Right. But we give them this real feeling that you're in a cell, and after they come out of here, here's where they go. That's some SEALs, correctional officer suits, when we're doing the CTS tour where we have some real people in here. One of our goals is to have them in here where they can't get released for a couple hours, and their parents can leave them. We're working on that. So once they come from out of there, they go to this visiting room. And in a CTS tour, because I do a CTS tour, a regular tour, and I got virtual tours. Once they come in here, they do this tour right. This is removed during a CTS tour. I'm sorry. Yeah. This is taken out. During a regular tour, you'll see this. The inmate that's coming out of that cell, he's gonna sit behind this cell
and talk to his
parent. His parent mother gonna sit in that stoop, and she gonna have a real conversation with him.
Yeah. So we see right now mannequin. He has this like orange overall, prison-y type looking thing, and he's behind this glass wall. How would you describe this?
This is the voice so they can hear each other.
Yeah. Like and then we have two money. I would suppose it's supposed to be wife and mother
and
the child.
Yes.
Sort of driving home the point.
Yeah.
If you go to prison,
they visit him.
You won't talk to your loved ones. Like this is
and when you
not for real.
When you in prison in this in the United States, your loved ones can come see you. You talk to them, but you don't really get no contact visits inside the jail. And if you're in isolation or segregation in the prison, your visits are still done behind the glass even once you get to prison. So, man, depending on what levels you're at too. And so it's just different things. And we get bad kids in here that act like they don't care about going to jail. We just press that for them and let them know that it got a little message for them.
Just letting you know that I'm already in the house and I'll see you soon.
Yeah, that's for the kids that.
Haunted.
Yeah, let them know that prison feels.
Good morning. My name is Felix Moore. I'm from Portsmouth, Virginia, and I was introduced to the E-firm from Brother Omar through his brother that works at the school. And for some reason, when he introduced me to Brother Omar, I just fell in love with it when I seen what the purpose in life was, to try to help youth, even grown-ups. So I've asked him if I can be a part of the E-firm. And he's not doing it for any publicity or nothing. He's just really trying to get to the youth to help them with all this crime and killing and all that. We're not going to save everybody, but I've seen him do a lot of great things in the community to help the kids. And you know, sometimes when I leave here, I had tears in my eyes because the kids, they need it, you know? They really need it, even my kids. And I've learned a lot from the E-firm. It helped me. It's changed my thinking. It changed a lot about me, even though I've never been in trouble in my life. So I feel like this need to be all over the world. It would stop a lot of this killing. And just need to raise some eyebrows so that, you know, the people can see that it is people out here don't care about a dollar that's really trying to help their kids. Since I've been coming up here, and I've been coming up here almost every day for the last year, nobody stopped by, no city officials stopped by. I'm sure they see us out there. Sometimes I'll be out in the front. Nobody comes by to offer any type of support. Number one, the youth out there don't nobody really care. You know, don't nobody really care about what's going on, so they can continue to do what they do. And I feel like if the city council or whatever and gets with the E-firm, it can stop a whole lot of this. If everybody team up and be one, I think it'll stop a lot of this killing and, you know, it'll stop a lot of it to me. Because I've seen Brother Omar go down to the city council and ask for help, not financially, because he don't need the money, but just to join, you know, to help it, make it one. It's sit there, suffer, and help these youth. And it's like, yeah, okay, talk good, then when he leaves, it's nothing accomplished. And I've seen that for myself. And, you know, he doing his thing, but it's in God's hand. I know it's gonna work out. But I wish everybody get on one page. If the youth see that in numbers, like he always tell me, that's what I learned. He said, we strong in numbers, not no just one person. And if we be strong in numbers, it'll help these youth. They'll see that people really care about them, because all they're doing is crying out for help.